Live stream. You see I'm sporting my South Africa shirt with the new South African flag. This is a random live stream. If anybody wants to tune in, check it out. It's actually later in the United States Central Time Zone, but my alma mater, Auburn University, is playing a college baseball playoff against Oregon State. And they're winning 5-4, and Oregon State's on the West Coast, so they're 2 hours behind us. So it's kind of like regular, like early evening time over there. Auburn's winning 5-4. Going into the fifth inning, they're the visiting team today, but Auburn's got a good chance to win this. More than reported, Oregon State, it looked like, because they're the number third team in the country and Auburn's 14th, they're coming out as the heavy favorite, but there have been some recent reports saying that Auburn has a good chance to win this 3-game series. So our battle cry at Auburn University is War Eagle, so War Eagle, go Auburn. All right, going to talk about some news on this live stream. And like I said, it's a random live stream, so it hadn't been previously announced or anything. So what I'm going to do is get on my iPad and announce the live stream to see if anybody has picked up on it and wants to come in. And here's the thing, okay? Ramaphosa, we all know Cyril Ramaphosa is in trouble, okay? We know that Cyril Ramaphosa is in trouble, all right? And we don't have 100% concrete evidence that this was bribery and extortion and everything of that nature. But come on. Let's be realistic here, people. Let's be realistic. Nobody keeps that much cash, particularly foreign forms of currency, in their farm. All right, Auburn just hit a home run. They're now up 6-4 over Oregon State. So hopefully that lead stays the way that it is. Nobody keeps that much currency in their home and not take it to the bank unless they are up to no good with it. And then if the currency wasn't illegally acquired, why did he not report it to the police? The South Africa Police Services is still looking for the case and a case number. And it hasn't been found. And unless there have been updates that I haven't seen, that there's still not a case number to there. And it's illegal for a head of state to not report something like that to the police. Now, Ramaphosa is saying that even though he was the head of state, it did not occur on government property. It occurred on his private property. So he wasn't necessarily obliged to report it to the police. Well, that's not always the case. I mean, that's just not... No, if you're the head of state, even though it occurs on private property, you're still obligated to report it under South African law. And as much as I don't like the EFF, and they should have probably let Ramaphosa address Parliament, even though what Cyril Ramaphosa typically has to say is nonsense, I can understand where they're coming from. I mean, this looks like bribery. This looks like extortion. This looks like a lot of things that Ramaphosa is up to no good. So as much as disrespectful as they were, I'm not saying I agree with it, but I definitely understand where they were coming from there. Now, here's the other thing. Okay, now let's get back to the grain situation. I know a lot of African countries, and this probably includes South Africa as well, they're being starved because a lot of grain exports of Ukraine are in ships in the Black Sea. And a lot of the key port cities along the Black Sea have been taken over by Russia. And Ukraine and the grain shipments, now Russia says Ukraine has mined the Black Sea and will not allow those exports to take place. Now, I think Ukraine will if they allow the exports. It's Ukraine's grain. The money needs to go to Ukraine, and Russia does not need to have a portion of that profit. That's gangsterism on Russia's part. Now, a lot of nations are starving, and they're saying, we're starving. We don't necessarily care where the food comes from because we are starving. And Well, and I understand where these other nations are coming from right there, particularly if their people are starving, but a lot of these African nations are corrupt third world nations, and the leaders embezzle and pocket a lot of the money, and the leaders need to stop doing that. And the leaders also need to come up with an efficient way to grow their own food, which they're more than capable of doing that. They're smart people, and they should choose not to be corrupt. And I'm not, the leaders are typically very intelligent in these countries. They know how to embezzle money. But if they put more energy into developing government programs to become food self-sufficient and government research to being food self-sufficient instead of having to always import your food from other nations. And that's what needs to be done there. And now the other thing is, African nations are saying, or particularly South Africa, the Soviet Union helped us during apartheid. It's a matter of loyalty. They gave the anti-apartheid groups weapons. They condemned apartheid when a lot of Western nations wouldn't. Okay, first of all, the Soviet Union only did that to spread their communist ideology. They didn't necessarily do that out of the goodness of their heart. I firmly believe, but let's say they did it out of the goodness of their heart. Number one, Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union at the time. Number two, that was then, this is now. And this, number three kind of ties in with number two. Number three, as critical as I am of President Joe Biden was a leading anti-apartheid activist when he was a senator of the United States in the 1980s. He actually was one of the ringleaders to help push for the United States to develop sanctions on apartheid South Africa. And when it was brought to President Reagan was going to veto the sanctions, but President Biden led the overriding of that veto. And, yeah. So you got to understand that. And an American was on SABC News talking about that. And now the Russia situation is not going to affect U.S. and South Africa ties. I firmly believe it might need to, because the ANC and the EFF governments have governed, or the ANC, the EFF is only 15% of the parliament, but the ANC has governed South Africa very, very inefficiently, and crime has skyrocketed under the ANC. Will bringing back apartheid make things better? No, it would actually make things worse. And I'm not calling for bringing back apartheid. We don't need something like the National Party to come back. We don't need racial inequalities like that. We don't need that. That's wrong. That's morally wrong, and also it's inhumane. So here's, I mean, we don't need that. But what we do know is crime has skyrocketed in South Africa. These are statistics according to Business Insider. Attempted murders have gone up 25% from last year, just in this quarter. In the first quarter of 2022, from last year, attempted murders have gone up 25%. Murders have gone up 22%. South Africa is actually averaging 68 murders a day now. Those are not exaggerated numbers. South Africa is averaging 68 murders a day. Not a week, not a month. South Africa is averaging 68 murders a day. And contact crime, and this includes assault, physical assault, and sexual assault, contact crime has gone up at least 15% from where it was last year. And this is just judging by the first quarter of things right now. So contact crime has gone up in South Africa as well. And these are government statistics, and a lot of crimes in South Africa go unreported and they go underreported. And another thing that the SABC reported on, this isn't about crime, but this is about healthcare. The Warrenton area in Kimberley, South Africa, and the northern, I'm sorry, not in Kimberley, but the Warrenton area and the Northern Cape. The Warrenton area in Northern Cape has, the residents there are deprived of basic health care. A lot of the healthcare facilities there that are public healthcare facilities, they don't operate on after hours, and they don't operate on the weekends. And sometimes when residents call for an ambulance there, the ambulance doesn't always come. And then they have to drive, and a lot of times in emergency situations, they have to drive about an hour away to Kimberley, South Africa, just to get any kind of health care, particularly on weekends and during after hours. And props to the SABC for reporting this. Now, actually, since there is some infighting in the ANC between pro-Zuma factions, and the ANC, the ones that still follow former President Jacob Zuma, like Arthur Frazier, who brought up the farm theft that happened with Ramaphosa, and Ramaphosa didn't report it to the police. Since there's infighting between the pro-Zuma factions of the ANC and the pro-Ramaphosa factions of the ANC, the SABC and the ENCA are getting a lot easier to watch, and they're actually becoming a lot funner to watch. I'm starting to enjoy watching it because they are now starting to report the news very fairly, and they're reporting it in a non-biased manner more than what they used to do. And you got to give them props for that. You got to give them props for that, but that's because they don't want to be on the wrong side, and be on the bad side of whichever faction takes ultimate control of the ANC. Now, we all know the Guptas had been arrested in Dubai by the international police, Interpol, on corruption charges. And that's a good thing. I mean, please do not get me wrong. That's a good thing. But, number one, why did this take so long? Everybody knew where the Guptas were. We all knew they fled to Dubai, United Arab Emirates. This did not happen until Cyril Ramaphosa's farm was broken into. And then it got reported that he didn't report it to the police. And then the thieves found all sorts of currency in his house, on his farm. So why did it take so long to get this reported? I mean, why did it take so long to get Interpol to arrest him and to extradite these two clowns, Atul and Rajesh Gupta, back to South Africa? It just doesn't make sense. All right. Well, this is talked about 12 minutes here, and yeah, I'm watching my Auburn Tigers play the Oregon State Beavers in baseball right here, and hope everybody is doing well. Take care. God bless, and bye bye. Bye bye.